name is Will, and today I wanted to talk about WoW and what led a 17-year-old player to quit and delete their account. World of Warcraft was not my first MMO. That game would be Final Fantasy XI. It was actually through Final Fantasy XI that I learned about World of Warcraft. You know, the players making fun of the game, making fun of the graphics. But that made me interested, and when I looked into it, I thought it looked really good. Tuesday, November 23rd, 2004, WoW officially launched. I played day one, and the servers were not ready for us. The servers were on fire. Those server rooms were like Old Testament shit. Cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria as server techs were running around with fire extinguishers, doing their darndest to keep the whole thing from burning down. This meant that the queue to log in was very long. But being a Final Fantasy XI player, I was used to waiting around for 10 plus hours for boss mobs to spawn. This was nothing. Eventually I was able to make my first character, a gnome rogue, and off to Dunmaro I went. The first thing I did was headed to the NPC with an exclamation point over their head. The questing system in WoW was hyped up, and I was excited to see it. Apparently, because the servers were on fire, talking to the quest NPC was too much and I was disconnected. So, lesson learned, don't talk to NPCs, the servers can't handle it. When I got back into the game, I decided to give the combat a shot. I found my first mob, attacked it, and the combat completely blew me away. My experiences with MMO combat at this point was with Final Fantasy XI, where you were basically auto-attacking 90% of the time, and using abilities was a rare treat. In WoW, you used abilities with much more frequency. This made the combat more action-paced and felt so much better than Final Fantasy XI. 20 minutes of WoW had converted me. WoW remained a game that I would love for years. However, the first time I questioned the design was the announcement of TBC. I was a semi-hardcore raider in vanilla. I had cleared every raid with the exception of the N-tier bosses in Nax, and their plans for TBC had me concerned. They were raising the level cap to 70. Enemies were dropping items of a similar quality to mid-tier raids, and I wondered why they would make all this content we did irrelevant. Not only that, raising the cap to 70 would make all the previous zones completely pointless. Of course I got the Burning Crusade. The trailers were amazing, and I was still loving the game. Going through the Dark Portal for the first time ranks as one of my top 5 favorite gaming moments, and TBC was another great experience. Wrath of the Lich King followed, which is easily my favorite expansion, and really up through Mist of Pandaria, World of Warcraft was a game that was easy to love. Sure, Kata got some hate, but in retrospect it was a good expansion with the unenviable position of following Wrath of the Lich King. Vanilla through MoP was the golden age of WoW, and this is where saying good things basically stops. Warlords of Draenor was when the game started to chisel away at my love of the game. Where to begin? Garrisons were a pathetic attempt at a housing system, completely lacking any real means of customization, while at the same time being so useful you had to use them. And no one ever left them, making the world dead. Good job, Blizzard, making the open world game completely dead. Then there was gearing, which was awful. Heroics had completely randomized stats on gear. You couldn't target what you wanted, which made gearing to raid annoying as fuck. Raiding was even worse. RNG on top of RNG. It was absolute shit. Oh, the weapon you were aiming for finally dropped? Better hope it was Titanforge with a gem socket, otherwise it might as well be trash. Who wanted this? It was like they looked at Diablo 3 and thought, hey, gear is randomized here, why not do that in WoW? Without realizing that you are showered with gear in Diablo, and only get gear once a week in WoW. It was so aggravating that I quit after the first tier, and didn't come back until Legion. WoD may have chipped away at me, but the Legion trailer was so good, it sucked me right back in. I thought Demon Hunters looked so cool, the setting was awesome, and I convinced myself that it couldn't be as bad as Warlords of Draenor. And it wasn't. Legion was better, but I still had a lot of problems. The forced grind for artifact power to be useful for raids wore on me. Then there was the grind to get the first legendary, which had annoying levels of RNG attached since you could get a bad one. Yeah, some of the legendaries would give you a huge boost in DPS, and some of them were comparatively useless. I have no idea why they designed a system that could screw a player over so royally in raid progression. I quit after the first tier again, and I regret it somewhat because the expansion did look like it would have been fun to play through. I just couldn't stomach the idea of a constant grind for artifact power every week to be useful in raids on a weapon that I knew would be going away next expansion. Yet again, between the trailer and a friend talking me into it, I came back for Battle for Azeroth. Long story short, I quit within 3 weeks. I didn't think they could make gearing up feel worse, Blizzard certainly took up that challenge and exceeded my wildest expectations. Good job, Blizzard, you got an A there. The infinite grind to level up the necklace. A necklace that was going to be functionally useless in 2 years. Oh no. Fuck no. Ain't dealing with that shit. If Warlords of Draenor and Legion were a chisel, chipping away at my love of this game, then BFA was a fucking jackhammer. There was almost no love left after playing this expansion. After quitting for BFA, I was following Final Fantasy XIV and became very interested in playing it. I had played during ARR, but stopped due to WoW. It felt like a good time to pick it back up, so I started over from the beginning and played up until there was no more main story quests left over. I also experimented with some of the Savages and Extremes. I was still following WoW because I still had some love for it, and was hoping the next expansion would be the one to correct the wrongs. Shadowlands trailer did its job. It hooked me. As Asmongold would say, it only takes a 2-minute trailer to make you forget about everything. I also had friends playing that I hadn't played with since Warlords of Draenor, so it really seemed like this would be the expansion to make me completely swoon over WoW again. I played Shadowlands for several months, and in those months I was not enjoying myself. I became that annoying person that kept comparing World of Warcraft to Final Fantasy XIV. So, World of Warcraft only really cares about raiding and PvP. If you like story, lore, the world, any of those sort of things, then WoW will severely disappoint you. I actually really do love the lore and story, but World of Warcraft over the years thoroughly beat that out of me. I don't like PvP, so all that was left was the raiding. That's what the game really cares about, so that's what I wanted to do. But Shadowlands put so many obstacles between me and raiding that most of the time playing was chores. Go to Torghast, a very lazily implemented roguelike so that you can craft your legendaries. Go to the Maw, a very lazily implemented Eureka/Baja type of zone so that you can gem up your gear. Run 10 Mythic Plus on at least a key level of 14 so that you can have more chances of gear from your loot box at the end of the week. These weren't optional things you could do. They were required if you wanted to raid. And then when I finally got into Mythic raiding, I wasn't even enjoying that. I felt that Final Fantasy XIV raiding was so much better than what WoW had to offer. The encounters felt more epic, the abilities looked cooler, the music and the way it would change to reflect the phase of the fight. To put it bluntly, Final Fantasy XIV raids were cinematic and dynamic, whereas WoW raids started to feel really static. Not only that, the balance in WoW was just atrocious. I have no idea how Blizzard allows for some classes and specs to be god tier, while others struggle to be useful. In Shadowlands' first raiding tier, Castle Nathria, rogues were basically useless. How did that go on for so long? I guess if you were a world first raider and enjoyed beating the numbers simulator by placing your players around like chess pieces, then raiding in WoW was great. But I saw the light, and much like how WoW ruined Final Fantasy XI's gameplay for me, Final Fantasy XIV raiding ruined WoW raiding for me. So what does WoW have to offer? They have completely butchered the story over the years. It's a joke and doesn't matter. In fact, everything you do in this game doesn't matter. Look at Chromie Time. You can literally do the story in whatever order you want because what you do doesn't matter. The game is wasting your time, and when the next expansion comes out, everything that you had done up to that point gets erased. Remember my initial fear of the Burning Crusade? So yeah, I quit and deleted my account. WoW went from a game that I loved, and over time that was chiseled and jackhammered away until all that was left is a crumbled up mess of frustration. I don't want to come back, and permanently deleting my account was a way to promise I wouldn't. I really just wanted some catharsis. When you've played a game for that long, it helps to get it out. If someone actually listened to this, and listened this far, thank you. Thank you so much. You rock. And that is all. Bye!